looking at the maritime domain awareness, because there is no how you can discuss blue economy if you don't understand the maritime domain. And the major crisis of our maritime sector is the sea blindness. People, they are not aware, they don't know what is the environment. Let's go to the sea itself. You look at the sea, you are just seeing the sea. There are layers over layers over layers of sea. The top layer of the sea, what it produces, what you can get, the type of fish, the type of shrimp you can get at the top layer is different from the second layer. Also, the second layer, what you can get, is different from the third layer up to the seabed. Now, we have seen the platform. We have heard that we have maritime safety, we have maritime security, we have shipping development, and we made mention that the issue of blue economy largely dependent on the development of shipping. That shipping is what will bring the birth of our own blue economy. Now, before we discuss the blue economy, where does blue economy operate? Remember, whatever we are discussing as far as blue economy is concerned, is not a new thing. It's something that has been around us, it's something that we have been doing, but what we are saying, by 2012, the issue of blue economy become prominent worldwide. Countries become very sensitive to the issue of blue economy. Why? Because they want to develop an economy standing on the issue of seas and ocean. So if we consume fish, we should look beyond going to fish and take it to our own houses and then put it on our table. We have to look at the value chain of fishing. We have to look at the availability of these fish in our own waters. We have to know whether there is illegal, unauthorized, and unreported fishing. So we must be conscious who are fishing in our own waters. Are they doing it in line with our own regulations? Are they doing it with certification and licenses? Do they pay taxes to the government? Those taxes, those guidelines, those certifications are money generated subheads. When we do that, we get income and the government will continue to earn revenue on that. And in doing so, we are now building the blue economy. Now, before that, what are those areas and what are the components that makes up this blue economy? One is maritime domain awareness. You must understand the maritime domain awareness. And what is maritime domain awareness? It's the effective understanding of anything associated with the maritime domain. You have to understand what are the components that give birth to the maritime domain. And that will impact on one, security, safety, which I mentioned earlier, then the economy itself and the marine environment. The maritime environment is also very, very key and important because without it, the aquaculture, the fish and other things that we can go and do may not be able to live. So the issue of pollution prevention and control must be at the front burner. The mainstay of Nigerian economy used to be agriculture. We used to have granite pyramid, we used to have cocoa, we used to have rubber, and so many things that built the economy. Period 1960s. So that's what we basically live on. Suddenly, we discover oil at the beginning of the 1960s, and we all abandon this particular cash crops that we have, and we generate so much income. At that time, the currency of Nigeria was even stronger than even British pounds because the solid foundation put in place in terms of agriculture. So now, what we are trying to say, such policies, if, for instance, we continue to maintain and harness the policies of agriculture, and we now put crude oil or oil that we discover as additional way of generating our own economy, today will have been a different ball game in Nigerian economy. So what we need to do is to look at those policies that we made it inconsistent with our own economic progress. We abandoned the issues of cash crops, the issues of agriculture, the issue of cocoa, the issue of rubber and other things, and we rely on single oil that we think that it will give us, it will take us the promised land. So what I'm trying to say here is the Nigerian future lies in the blue economy, with the coastal bordering the Atlantic Ocean from Badagry to Bakassi. And in so doing, we have to carry everybody along. You and I, we have to be party to it, and we must make sure we work hard, tirelessly, where we are and develop that economy. Now, what is the value of blue economy worldwide? It's been said that that's just an illustration, blue, from crude to blue. Thinking that now that nations that used to patronize Nigerian crude oil, they are now thinking of the alternative way. They are looking for the alternative energy. They are looking for this oil that they are buying. They are now using electrical oil, cars and other things like that. Now, when they begin to think, and from what we are seeing, within the next 10 years, even if we have oil, probably we may largely have to consume it ourselves. Those countries may not rely. Oil will still relevant, will remain relevant to human factor. But since they are thinking aloud, we have to think also. And where we are thinking going to, that is the issue of crude to blue. So the crude to blue, each and every one of us, we have to be conscious by understanding the maritime domain awareness and what contributions can we put and to ensure that we maximize the utilizations of our own ocean resources. From the World Wildlife Fund, it's been associated and defined that from the research, the world blue economy is valued as about $24 trillion. What Nigeria is making to get the share of that $24 trillion. And it's been said that if ocean were to be a country, it will be the 7th largest economy in the world, next to Britain. The British economy will have been the 6th one, then the blue economy will be the 7th one, followed by Brazil, the 8th one. So the research showed that. So now, in the blue economy worldwide, God has destined Nigeria to have the seas and ocean. What are we going to do to tap from the $24 trillion volume of the economy, of the world economy, in terms of blue economy? Now, to understand that, we have to look at the dangers ahead, which I said earlier. The world is working hard to phase out the fossil fuel industry. Nigeria, we have to be aware of that. In doing so, we have to look for other alternatives. The issue of agriculture must come back to stream. The issue of blue economy must come back to stream. What is blue economy? We will look at 2 definitions of the blue economy, or 3. The World Bank in 2017 defined blue economy as the sustainable use of ocean. Take note, he also emphasized sustainable. We continue to use the oil, the ocean. But do we sustain it? How do we sustain it? If we are not sustaining it, how do we do to sustain it? So, use of ocean resources for economic growth. That means our target should be for economic growth, not for our own table. Not fish for our own table. Fish for export. Fish for our industry. We have to develop the fishing industry. Then improve livelihood. How we can improve the livelihood? Instead of going to buy this frozen fish and other things. The natural fish is good for our own livelihood and for our own good. And then jobs. You look at the value chain. You go and do fishing, you bring it to the market, people will buy, or the restaurant will buy, you will also buy. Look at the ways and means that you can export it and other things like that. preserving health of ocean ecosystem, you have to also look at the marine environment. Pollution prevention, pollution control is very key. You must preserve the ocean. Also, a renowned scholar called Dr. S. Thomas in 2021 defined the blue economy as a sustainable use of marine resources. Look at it. He continued to repeat what the World Bank repeats. For economic growth is there, improved livelihood, same, and jobs. The job is also there in his definition. For the health of ecosystem, also the ecosystem is being divided. But he went ahead to give an illustration, renewable energy. Today we have problem with energy in Nigeria. If you look at the energy, renewable energy that we can use using our own sea wave, is enough to generate energy that we can use it for our own good and for our own industries to flourish. Not only the maritime related industry, but also other industries to flourish. Tourism. The tourism is one of the key areas. You go to the beach, go to the bar beach and see. You can see people with drums, beating drums. They are entertaining people at the beach. That beating drum alone, some people will make money, go home happy, pay school fees for their children, and also make sure that they clothe themselves and do the needful for their own children, only beating the drum. Some people do small shade. You go and utilize the shade and pay them. Now, if you structure it in a more modernized way, and you can imagine the type of resources that you can get, you can imagine the kind of work that you can generate, you can imagine the type of, other resources that you can be able to generate. Climate change. The climate change that we are experiencing now is also synonymous to our own sea. Whatever you see that we are having on land, it also starts from the sea. The sea generates the wave and every kind of climate that we have. That's why we have an MOU with NIMASA to be able to understand the sea happening. And if you are watching our NIMASA this week, every week we give you the details happening of our own climate change from the sea, which also transit to the issue of our own land climate change. Fisheries, waste management, and maritime transport. At the time goes, there are some slides that will give you more illustration on this. The third definition has to do with EU, European Union. Define blue economy as encompasses all industries and sectors that relates to ocean, seas, and coast, whether based directly in marine environment or on land. Example, shipping, seafood, energy generation, etc. Or seaports. On land, we have seaports, we have shipyards, we have ship repairs, and other things like that. All these are blue economy and coastal infrastructure. Then the second one is the ocean resources. We have the listed ocean resources. The next one, economic growth. All these are part of the definition. The third one is improved livelihoods and jobs. Once you build all this, the others follow. So the issue of livelihood, the ecosystem preservation, the issue of marine environment management and other things, climate change and other things. Every day you have to conduct research and make sure that you got all those things, and you have to sustain it. So what can constitute and gives a kind of blue economy that we need? First is policy intervention. Government must introduce an interventionary policies to make sure that we achieve blue economy. The government must come in and everywhere. Now, when you look at the fishing sector, there should be a policy intervention to see how we can help, how we can regulate, how we can ensure that we build the fishing industry. So such policy intervention, for instance, the federal government authorized NIMASA to buy a modular floating dock. Today we have modular floating dock that is one of the largest in the Africa, one of the top five in the whole Africa. So now this is a policy intervention. We have cases of ships. Dr. Uyong, my brother, they own ships. You can't imagine the turnaround vessel that comes in a month in Nigeria. Over 1,000 of ships come and go out. Where are the the ship repair industry that can go and repair that ship. They are no longer available. Sometimes they have to go to Benin Republic, they have to go to Ghana, they have to go to Togo. The ship owners in Nigeria, they will have to take their ship up to Turkey to repair the ships. Can you imagine? Now the work class Nigerians that are engineers that learn, they don't have the capacity even to work. The foreign exchange of Nigeria is being taken away to other countries for only what? To repair a ship. So when we do a direct policy to make sure that we have the ship repair industry being harnessed, then we have the group of the ship repairs industry. We listen to them. What do they do? What are their problems? How can government introduce policies to ensure that that particular industry flourish? Now I mentioned fisheries. I'm now mentioning the ship repair industry, the shipyard industry. So that comes under good governance. I mentioned it under good governance. Once there is good governance, from time to time, interventionary policy must be put in place to ensure that it stimulates the economy of that blue economy. And in so doing, that's why we are coming now on the issue of disbursement of the Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund. Very soon we will have to see the emergence of a number of fishing trawlers, maybe through the issue of Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund. Those fishing industries, they have to come together and see what they can be able to get from that particular CVFF. Now, the issue of ship repairs, they have to come also together to see what they can get, and so on and so forth. So all the industry must come together. All these are part of good governance and policy interventions of government. The second issue is how to do with infrastructure. You have to develop the infrastructure. For those countries and for those cities, we have 8 littoral states where we allow the Supreme Court define them as the littoral states. So those littoral states, they have to do a direct policy and interventionary policies that will allow infrastructure to flourish, for people to go and invest, for foreigners to come and build hospitality industry, recreation industry, a kind of holiday resort and other things like that, where revenues will come in foreign exchange if foreigners can come, especially when their own weather is harsh. They would like to come to this type of the country. Now, the issue of maritime security framework. The maritime security framework also is part of government interventionary policy to make sure they institutionalize the issue of security. What happened to the issue of security? If you introduce insecurity, you will have to go and fight insecurity. How do you introduce insecurity? You have children that are ready to go to school. They don't have means, they don't have ways to get to school for one reason or the other. You must make sure that you stimulate the issue of policies that will make it easy for parents and children to go to school. When they finish school, they don't have job. What do? You must introduce also policies that will stimulate job creations. Those job creations is part of the blue economy as you do it. The issue of FOMO Act, Suppression of Piracy and Other Maritime Related Offences Act, is being introduced to address the issue of maritime insecurity. For quite some time, we have been achieving this since 2001, even though recently we have experienced 2 attacks in the last 1 month. But we are looking at the issues of that. So the issue of sustainability in P1, the issue of first pillar is being addressed under the enabling triangle. To enable the blue economy be achieved, all these things must put in place. The issue of security must be looked into. The issue of resources must be looked into. Then where are the ocean resources? The oceans cover 72% of surface of our own blue planet and constitute more than 95% of the biosphere. So look at the whole world. The entire world, where we are standing, is only less than 30%. The remaining 72% is the entire world. Even where our own 200 nautical miles given to us by the international community for our own exclusive rights, we have what we call International Seabed Authority, where countries can go and explore and get whatever they can get. Only they will have to pay a certain percentage for the international community for whatever they explore and extract. Ocean provide a sustainable portion of the global population with food and livelihoods. That's shrimps, foods, and other things like that. The seabed currently provides 32% of the global supply of hydrocarbons, with exploration expanded into mining of seabed minerals plus potential of the renewable blue energy. So the issue of energy, I mentioned it earlier, we must look into that. The issue of thinking we have to depend on dams that we are creating, Kayanji dams and other things. We have to look at the benefits of our own ocean resources also in generating energy. So that is on the P2, that is the pillar number 2. The pillar number 3, economic growth. What can constitute the economic growth? Now, in those days, the value was 2.5 trillion US dollars, that is in 2015. Today is 24 trillion. We have 90% of global trade volume is seaborne, and we have 300 million jobs worldwide linked to fisheries. Only fisheries, 350 million jobs. How many jobs Nigeria can get from the 350 million? 34% offshore crude oil production by 2015. Aquaculture is the fastest growing food sector, providing 50% of fish to humanity. I think the issue of fish continue to occur, so we have to look into that area. And then I wish those who are into fisheries, they will quickly now look beyond what they have, or beyond the issue of finance, bank financing and other things, and come and see what they can tap from the CBF Cabotage Vessel Financing Fund. Then the pillar number 4, improve livelihood, shipping and port facilities. 90% of the global trade by volume and over 70% by value is carried by sea and handled by ports worldwide. Fisheries globally, 350 million jobs. I had mentioned that. Tourism in 2012, sea tourism increased by 4% despite the global economic crisis and constituted 9% of the global GDP, 9% of the global jobs, and generated 1.3 trillion or 6% of the world export earnings. Preservation of ecosystem, that is the 5th pillar. The ocean provides the largest sources of oxygen, absorbs 25% of CO2 emissions, and coral reefs is home of about 25% of all marine. Now, these are the 5 pillars that the blue economy is dependent on. Now, the UN Global Economy facts and figures. What are these facts and figures? We mentioned about 24 trillion. Now, every year, the ocean economy has an estimated turnover between 3 to 6 trillion. This includes employment, ecosystem services provided by ocean and cultural services. What this entails, what I'm trying to define now, is for us to see the statistical analysis for Nigeria to see where they can key in and what they can benefit from it. It is also estimated that fisheries and aquaculture contribute over $100 billion per year and about 260 million jobs to global economy. In Nigeria, what are the foundation that we can follow to harness this blue economy? And we have 853 kilometer coastal line from Badagry to Bakassi, and then we have 8,573 kilometers of inland waterways. Whatever can survive in our own ocean and seas can also survive in our inland waterways. We have about 28 lock states in Nigeria that can be accessible by inland waterways. So it's not only the littoral states that have what it takes to build the blue economy. We also have states where there is no oceans, there is no seas, but they have they have their own inland waterways. And in so doing, we can also try to see what we can harness, including the mineral resources. Some of those states under the water, you can be able to get and generate crude oil that we are not tapping that. We have gold, we have other mineral resources in such inland waterways. And states that are connected to those inland waterways. We have 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zones, 12 nautical mile territorial waters, 6 port complexes, Apapa, Tinkan, One, Port Harcourt, Warri, and Calabar, 21 oil terminals, and more than 10 jetties in those days. 200 million population consumers. So, meaning that when you have more than 2 million consumers, whatever you lived in terms of blue economy, at the end of the day, you find the hands they are trying to receive are many. So that means everything you produce, as far as blue economy is concerned, is going to be available there are people available to utilize it. So there is nothing for you to think of waste or abandon issues. Whatever you think you are going to do, is it other services or other things, is going to be utilized as far as the blue economy is concerned. 28 out of 36 states accessible by water and linked by 5 neighboring countries. So I mentioned earlier, 28 states in the northern part where we don't have seas and ocean, they are linked with inland waterways. And not only they are linked with inland waterways, there are other countries like Chad, like Cameroon, like Niger, they are linked with those inland waterways. So we have Chad basins where we can also have neighboring countries that are linked to. 10,000 kilometers of waterways that is navigable year-round. That is the inland waterways. So in a nutshell, the issue of blue economy is the entire country. It's not only restricted to the 8 literal states defined by the Supreme Court. It's all over the country. Now we have 8, we have 28. If you add 8 plus 28, making what? You have 36. So the 36 states, they are all blessed with what is called blue economy. So what are we doing? We have to go back to the drawing board with our researchers. Thank God, professor from the UNILAG, we just commissioned some of the professors in UNILAG to give us facts and figures. What can we get in these inland waterways? And what are the facts? What are the figures? So that the investors, is not only for Nigerian, it's for the international community. We can also get the investors to come and invest and see what we can do. Now, the bankable areas, as the names imply, these are the bankable areas. We have coastal tourism. I made mention tourism. I'm just giving you as a summary or at a glance. We have oil and gas. We have fishing, fish processing. We have shipbuilding. We have marine fisheries, ports, aquaculture, transport, marine renewables, desalination, coastal protection, marine biotechnology. All these are the bankable. Now, what is going to prevent us from getting to this? These are the economy. Each one here mentioned are about 12. These are 12. So these are 12 industry. So each one you take here is an economy on itself. All you need to do is to pick it and see what you can do to make sure that you harness that economy. So these are 12 bankable areas. But what are the threats to get these things done? That's the next slide, what we can do. The threats to blue economy criminalities, which include piracy, smuggling, illegal oil bunkering, narco trafficking, that is drug trafficking, arms running, non-payment of revenue by government, pollution, that is pollution that destroys the aquaculture, and then kidnapping for ransom, where the hoodlums can go and attack ships and kidnap foreigners, encroachment, human trafficking, and so on. Those are the criminalities that give us the hindrance to achieve those economies. And each one is being handled. We entered into so many, the agency entered into so many agreements. So for example, the issue of smuggling, we are with customs. The issue of illegal bunkering, we are now dealing with oil and gas industry like NNPC. The narco trafficking, we are with NDLE. And then arms running, we are with customs. Non-payment of revenue, we always interact and communicate with each other in terms of payment. The issue of pollution, we are with the Ministry of Environment. The kidnapping now is something to do with Marine Police. Encouragement, you will find that is another difficult things. You find that when you get to, for instance, around Calabar, around Bakassi area, the thin line of the border between Nigeria and Bakassi is a very thin. It's just between this edge and this place. When you are here, you think you are in Bakassi. When you are here, you think in Nigeria. So a Bakassi man can enter Nigeria, he doesn't know. And Nigerian can enter Bakassi, he doesn't know. So in that demarcations, encouragement can happen everywhere. And the most interesting thing, sometimes you find them, they don't understand each other's language. Nigeria doesn't understand the issue of French in the French-speaking countries, for instance, and then the French-speaking countries, they don't understand English. So sometimes it causes a lot of problems and frictions in terms of implementations of our own laws and other things. Next slide, please. Now, we come to the issue of the piracy. The piracy security is very essential in every economic activity. There is no how you can achieve your own economic goal if the security is in that. So, but what we do, Nigeria is the first country to produce the SPOMO Act, signed by Mr. President in June 2019. And since the signing of that act, we have been having a very, very good platform. Many countries follows like Ghana and Cameroon, they are now following. In Africa, we are the first country to have a standalone law that deals with the issue of piracy and other related distance. The openness of sea is very difficult and costly to manage. So each member state must be able to address the issue. This morning, I was reading a write-up saying that any piracy attack within the Gulf of Guinea, Nigeria must be in focus. Well, it's true. Nigeria must be in focus. But however, every country must be able to take care of their own countries, to look after. No nation can come to Nigeria and start to commit crimes like that and we allow them. No. So every country must do what they can do. Either the authority, civil or protection, or even the Navy, they must be able to understand the terrain and deal with such issues. I agree, because of the size of the country, sometimes the proceeds of those crimes, you can find it in our own country, but nevertheless, no Nigerian member will endorse his fellow Nigerian to go outside his own country and commit crime and clap for him. No, it's not possible. So every country must be able to take their Panadol for their own headache, not for them to extend that issue because of the perception of the international community that Nigeria must be in focus on any crime that comes. But anyway, Nigeria as a leading African nation, we are doing our best and we have already achieved a greatest milestones on the issue of piracy and armed robbery at sea. Another threat that has to do with the blue economy has to do with unaware of the impact of shipping in their own daily lives. People think that things of it as an old fashioned industry. However, fundamentally, we still depend on shipping as it brings almost 90% of what we consume. So we have to understand the sea itself and what the sea contains. So sea blindness is also one of the challenges, and we are doing everything possible. Now, on land, we have also blue economy on land, and such economic development include port development and logistics, shipping, dockyard, marine tourism, dredging, offshore oil and gas exploration and production, renewable energy and biotechnology, maritime fabrication and construction, as well as waste management. These are what constitutes the blue economy. For those who are interested, for those who are investors, those are the areas that each area you pick here is an interesting area and it's a virgin area as far as Nigeria is concerned. There is no number of things that you can put and you say that it's enough. We need more and more and more investment to build those industries to make sure that we tap enough resources in the blue economy.